You're listening to Podcast PXN, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Let's do this. What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 74. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined over Discord by the pride of PlayStation, Sean Babiak, and the Nintendo aficionado, Roro. Guys, we are all three back for the first time, and it feels like ages. How does it feel?
Feels good. Reunited, and it feels so good.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for the enthusiasm. Thank you to everyone joining us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. Just search Podcast PXN and you will find us on there, and simultaneously on twitch.tv/podcastpxn as well. The topic of the show this week, guys, is our thoughts on the big Nintendo Direct from today. But first, the show always starts with the PXN news of the week, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Guys, the first item on the PXN news of the week is 6 Days in Fallujah, a game that is based on the Iraq War, has previously been canceled but has come back now, and it does have some controversy surrounding it, and it is apparently set to be released this year. There's actually former Halo developers that are working on this game now, which is Highwire Games. It's Marty O'Donnell's studio that he created after he left Bungie. And there's also a former gameplay designer at Bungie, Jamie Griesemer, I believe, which he's also kind of a lead guy over there. This one's kind of interesting. A lot of people have been talking about it in terms of like the politics of it and how this should be presented and what the storytelling should be for this game. I'm just interested to see, if they actually create something that's more historical, that's going to like try to show like what happened during this war, or is this going to be something, more, unique, I guess? Is it going to be its own story, or is it going to be like based on real events? And what do you guys think about the controversy that surrounds this, Roro?
I've seen the headlines. I've watched a little bit, whether it be from other podcasts and stuff like that. Politics and war in general isn't usually my forte to talk intelligently about, but I've been listening to other people, of course, people that are of the people that were involved in the Iraqi war, so brown people, or Arabian people and stuff like that. So like Rami Ismail is one of the people on Twitter that was obviously very upset about the portrayal of it and how they don't really show the entire story. They kind of showing the American side, but not what's going on the other side of it. Not portraying the atrocities is one of the quotes that I saw as well. So I'm not really one to speak on it very much, but I do see the criticisms that are being brought up by different people that were probably more affected than I was. Hopefully they can do it well, but it seems like, from what I've read, that they aren't really trying to. They literally say here that they're not trying to make a political statement. So they're definitely trying to play it safe in a situation where they should be showing all sides, I think, and not trying, especially if it's reality. They're not trying to make a fictional story. It's based on something that happened. So,
right.
Yeah.
Fair point. Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat with Roro as far as it not really being something that interests me. I'm not into war games really that often, but it just kind of makes me think like we truly don't know what it's trying to say, but it is probably trying to say nothing. But even games that you don't think are going to say anything, I was actually watching. Unfortunately, I got sucked into WatchMojo.com today at work while I was bored. And you know how top 10 lists can just like suck you down. Like, I don't know if I agree with this. I agree with this, yada, yada. But it was one of the greatest video game moments in the last decade. And number one was actually Spec Ops: The Line on PS3, with that whole reveal. As far as you actually being not a good soldier, you thought you were protecting these people this whole time, and you were not. You were a terrible soldier, and it showed, in a sense, like your running gun mentality was not worth it. So could they maybe do something in that vein? I honestly doubt it. I think they are trying to stay apolitical as best as possible, but no matter what, it's going to be brought up into the fold because, just like Roro said, there's two sides to every war story, regardless if people want to say so or not. And the end of the day, somebody is a bad guy and a good guy, and then the other person's a bad guy and a good guy. Right. And so it's hard to say that. I'll just be curious how it's received. I'm actually kind of thinking too, like, it's probably, in a sense, a lot of these games used to be way back in the day kind of recruitment tools too. Counter-Strike was notorious for being actually a recruitment tool for the army, just because they had like tracked as far as how your motions were and all that stuff. Obviously it became more of an esport than ticket to the military or anything like that. But I just find it very interesting that it is coming back after, what was the hiatus, like almost like a year and a half, I think.
Yeah, it was a long time. And that's my thing. I don't understand why was this even brought back? Like, just make something new or something different. Like, I don't see anyone out there clamoring for this game to come out, you know? Like, no one's saying, "Yes, let's get this game." And like so many people I saw on Twitter saying like, "Oh, but we have, you know, World War II battles that are historic where they have Normandy Beach and such." Well, that's a little different because not only was the war different, but also that took place like, what, 80 plus years ago now. We are literally in this time where this happened. We lived in this time that this happened. Like, I feel like there's a certain amount of time that has to pass where you can reflect on what happened in order to tell stories like this. I don't know.
Well, we also live in a different age too, where things have changed since the release, I would even say, of Modern Warfare, the original, where Modern Warfare, I know it was a fictional story, but there were some accuracies with as far as how situations would develop and everything. We don't live in that world anymore where you can just essentially be callous to other people's emotions or other people's thoughts. It's not just the world's run by straight white males, and I mean they have to realize that everybody in this world has a voice, as it should be. So I truly do think that it'll be interesting to see kind of more or less what review scores say if this does have some sort of story or anything like that. How is it resonating with people? Does it just seem like, hey, America, guns, yeehaw, or is it just something that really tells a story of how a war can be?
For sure. Moving on, guys. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I know this is such a hard cut there, but there's no better way to do that. So just cutting it at the head there. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart has a release date with the new trailer that reveals June 11th is the launch date. They also detailed some collector's editions digitally and physically, which is pretty neat. But I thought one thing was interesting. They kind of teased the new character's name at the end of Insomniac's blog post, which it sounds like it's either going to be like Rosie or Rose, like some kind of play on Rose.
Rosemary.
Rosemary, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something weird.
That could be it.
It's too long.
But I'm sure you guys are excited for this. I'm very excited for this. Insomniac freaking knocking it out of the park with Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and now Ratchet and Clank literally like, 7 months later? That's insane that we're getting those two high-quality games so close together. And this will be a perfect summer game, I think. Roro, are you excited to get into Ratchet and Clank again?
Definitely excited to boot it up when it comes out. I don't know what I was expecting for a release date. It was kind of, they always had those screenshots that people were pulling on Twitter where it would show the release season for a lot of the games, and Ratchet and Clank was usually left out of that. So I don't know what I was expecting, but I don't know why. June's perfect. I thought it was coming sooner, but June is perfect, and I'm glad it's coming this year at all. So definitely excited to play it when it comes. It looks awesome. Like the gameplay, every time they show it, it blows me away how beautiful it looks and how fun it looks. I'm just excited to see the new characters, how they're going to interact with Ratchet and Clank. I'm excited to see that side of the story play out more.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at this point, I mean, we'll go into another game later on today, but this is probably my most anticipated game of the year, I would say thus far. That now has a release date too, just because of how great it looks. I'm not in love with the collector's edition stuff, especially the digital collector's edition, because it looks like it's the first time that they're offering you a theme on your PS5, and that's only if you get the digital one. So it's like, and I actually really loved like having themes on my PS3 and PS4. One of my favorite themes was there was actually 3 different themes for Final Fantasy VII Remake that you got with your pre-orders. So I mean, it's just really cool to have that different type of music and stuff. So I'm not a huge fan on that one, but other than that, I mean, I can't say enough praise about Insomniac and me just clamoring for this game to play.
For sure, yeah. The themes are really cool. Absolutely agree with that. I think they've done that recently with like even in PS4 gen, they gave free themes for games that you pre-ordered, but I don't know if it was collector's editions only. I can't remember that aspect of it, but it's definitely not something new. But yeah, it does suck that you can't.
Most of the time, you still got it if you like did a physical edition, but they also
really?
set it on there. Yeah. And that's my only issue is that they don't say it anywhere that you'll get this theme with it. And I know you're all digital on your PS5, Daniel, but obviously I'm not. I like physical media still. So it's like, that's kind of a bummer. It would be kind of cool to have it, but at the same time, it's not a deal breaker, no matter what I'm getting this game.
Yeah, sure. Moving on, G4 has announced the return of Adam Sessler and Kevin Pereira, as well as gosh, I'm butchering that. I wanted to say Olivier, but it's Avile? I don't know. And Froskurin joining them. Sessler and Pereira will be back as the hosts of X-Play and Attack of the Show, respectively. So I thought this was super cool because I loved those shows back in the day when I was a kid. I would always watch X-Play, and they would always have like new features on games and stuff like that. And Attack of the Show was always pretty funny with Kevin Pereira. But I guess the only thing that I'm questioning is like, is this going to fit in like a 2021 world where you already get like instant gratification for news on games from Twitter, from other news sources like IGN that post breaking news there? Is X-Play really going to be something that people really look forward to? Are they going to get big exclusives, I guess, is the main thing, which I guess they might. Game Informer still gets some exclusive stuff for their cover articles that they do, so it's possible they get stuff like that. But I guess the other question that I have for you guys is, like, do you guys think that G4 is going to be widely picked up by the cable companies? Because that's the other part of this. Like, the cable companies have to actually provide this channel, and that was one of the reasons why they switched it originally and got rid of G4, was because it didn't have the numbers of people watching the channel in order to sustain it. So, like, Roro, do you think that we're gonna get, this widely available on a lot of platforms?
It's hard for me to imagine this being on television like now, I guess.
Yeah.
It was definitely a different time back then, and even like you're saying, it eventually came off the TVs. I think it'll survive or do better just online, like a lot of gaming stuff is these days. I can't in vouching for it, I can't think of a lot of channels that do offer this, so maybe there is a market for it. But at the same time, I can't think of a lot of channels that do something like this, so maybe there isn't. So yeah. I don't have the same connection that a lot of people and gamers, I guess, have to G4, because I just didn't watch it when I was younger. But I am the market for stuff like this. Obviously, I love content like this, so I'm definitely excited for when it does come around, and seeing so many other gamers excited about it does get me excited as well. But it being on TV traditionally that doesn't seem like it'll happen. I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah.
Sean?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel, I'm in your same boat. Where I actually grew up watching G4, and I always liked it. Now, I will say, preface, I am not a fan of Attack of the Show. Never was. I just was not. It wasn't anything for me. But I actually really liked X-Play with his, and it was
Morgan Webb.
Sessler and Morgan Webb, right? Yeah. And I just really like their interactions with games, and generally, Adam Sessler, he's a little bit of a curmudgeon at times with certain things, a little picky, and I kind of like that because I feel like I'm picky as well when it comes to what I like and what I enjoy as far as games these days. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. But as far as kind of the future of G4 itself and where I see it more or less going is I either see it being solely internet based as far as YouTube, maybe even a YouTube, what is it, YouTube Red, I think it is, or YouTube TV, whatever it's called these days, or possibly getting picked up by some type of streaming service as well. Because I think what they really should, and I hate this, but what they really need to probably lean into is some sort of partnership, especially with that name G4, with esports. Especially right now with the pandemic hasn't ended or anything like that, and a lot of people are more into games than ever, and they do some esports, some let's play. They become the premier destination on Hulu's app or Netflix's app or something like that, to where, hey, here's a weekly show of our stuff, and I think you have a solid winner on that one. Now, would they do it? I don't know, but that's just where because everything's going to be streaming. I mean, we're getting a freaking Paramount Plus thing. I don't understand it. But I mean, cable and satellite is dead. Everything is going to be a subscription based. So kind of where we have to think of what's going to be the next step for them, and that's where I kind of see it going.
Yeah. I completely agree with both of you, and Roro, great point about, it's probably not going to land at the cable provider's location anymore. It's probably going to be a streaming thing, and Sean, like you said, it makes a lot of sense that they're going to continue to move forward to this path, because it's like you said, cable's dying every day. More and more people switch, so I don't know. It's very interesting. Moving on, guys, we have some remasters / upgrades that are coming very soon. Metro Exodus is a free upgrade coming to next gen with 4K 60 frames per second with full ray tracing on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, coming later this year, as well as a PC Enhanced Edition, which is also a free upgrade as well for people who own Metro Exodus on PC. So I feel like we talked about last year so many people that weren't giving us free upgrades. Control. What?
They gave us PlayStation Plus.
Oh, well, fair, but PlayStation Plus isn't free.
I know.
You're still. But
I was waiting for him to say that part.
Yeah, but yeah, this is great news. I really loved Metro Exodus. I didn't quite love it as much as Last Light, which was the previous one, but still a really good game, and it's gorgeous game. And the fact that they're upgrading it even more for next gen is amazing. So definitely can't wait to see what that looks like on next gen. Will this convince either of you to play? Because I know you guys have not played.
Game Pass, then yes.
Okay.
Yes, as well for me too. And I'm thinking, I think, isn't one of them on Game Pass right now?
I thought 2033 was. Am I wrong on that?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay.
I think one of them is, and I don't know which one it is. But yeah, all these upgrades are great, and it's making me feel that I should just wait until I do pick up an Xbox or PS5 in the future and just experience it that way. Because I have a PC, but sometimes it doesn't play it at the best quality. But if I get a console, I think it'll be just fine. So I'm probably just going to wait to play it. And this does obviously help me want to pick it up. So for sure.
Yeah, your launch library, when you inevitably get the console, is going to be like giant with just all the things you're redeeming.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm excited, but also scared.
Yeah.
Did you see also that Control announced their Remedy announced their financials, and they had their most profitable year in their company's existence, but they didn't release a single game in 2020.
Yeah, which I mean, that right there should show you that they just. I feel like a lot of people rebought Control on next gen because of I don't know that. Yeah. I have feelings about that, Sean. Moving on to another remaster, slash whatever you want to call it, remaster slash upgrade for next gen. Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers is coming to PS5 and Series X and S on March 18th, which is very soon, just a little over a month away, a month and a day. And it's coming alongside Hawkeye's new expansion. Roro, I know you've been very, very high on this game in the past. You've been high on it before, but will this kind of bring you back to it? Because I know you've kind of wandered away from it lately, but are you interested in this? Obviously, you don't have the next gen, but like Hawkeye's expansion.
Yeah, I was definitely, when they announced the Hawkeye thing, I was like, okay, I'll tune in and see if I am interested, if I will come back to it. And it looked good. I love the story that they're doing, but I don't know if I'm gonna go back. It sucks because, like you said, I was pretty high on it when it first came out, and even a little while after, I was excited to where it can go. And I think I am just in that space right now. I'm waiting to see where it can go and what they do with it, how they improve it. And I'm sure they have made improvements since I played, but Hawkeye just isn't enough for me to go back to it just yet. And hopefully whenever I do, there'll be more stories for me to play. Yeah. And maybe I'll beat myself up about it for not playing it sooner. But right now, I not super excited to jump back in just yet.
Maybe Black Panther soon, because I thought that they had talked about him, but we haven't heard much about him.
Yeah,
I thought that was just the leak that we all saw. I could be wrong, but I thought it was just the leak. They never confirmed Black Panther. I thought Hawkeye was the only one confirmed.
I thought they
did, because when Chadwick passed, they said,
"Oh, that's right."
That's right. Said, like, hey, we're going to talk about this later, and later still hasn't come yet.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. We have someone in the chat named Matika for Friends. Hey, what's going on? Thank you for joining us, Matika. I appreciate it. If I butchered your name, I apologize. Please correct me in the chat. I've already butchered one name in the news stories already, so it wouldn't surprise me to butcher another. I am terrible at that. But thank you for joining us. Guys, moving on, Rainbow Six Quarantine is being renamed, but Ubisoft says that the rumored Parasite title that's going around is just a placeholder. What are we doing, Ubisoft?
What? I like renaming things recently.
Yeah.
I understand this one, though. I do understand why they're doing it for this one, but...
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good point. You said that, and I was literally thinking, like, why are they renaming that? But now you saying that, I'm like, oh, duh, because the freaking, the whole pandemic and quarantine. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Has a little bit of negative connotation, more so than ever.
Yeah. I was literally going to ask you guys that, too. Like, why do you think it's being renamed? You just gave me an answer. So, but why in the world, like, if you're going to call it, Parasite as an internal placeholder, just freaking name it that. Why do we need to change it? Like, it's just like Xbox. They named their console Project Scarlet. Like, why not just call it Xbox Scarlet? Or why not just call it Xbox Scorpio, like Xbox One X was? Like, why do we have all these code names? Just freaking call it whatever. I don't know. Do you guys think that Parasite will end up being the name, or do you think they're just going to be like, nope, let's throw that away. Let's come up with some random name.
They probably don't care about the name, to be honest with you. Rainbow Six right now is just going to sell. It's always sold for the most part. It's still going to sell whatever they call it. Just make a good game. That's all that matters.
Yeah. That Tom Clancy name sells a lot. I agree. But I think they'll stick with it.
Yeah.
I think they'll stick with it. I mean, what else? What are they going to change it to? I mean, there's an entire dictionary of names that they could use, but I don't know why bother. Like Sean says, they're going to sell no matter what they change it to. If they left it at Quarantine, it was sold fine. I understand why they changed it, but if they left it, people would have still bought it.
Yeah. I agree. I think Ubi just needs to stick to a name, not change their name to Immortal Phoenix Rising or whatever the heck. From it's like, oh, come on, Ubi. Moving on, we have a few Microsoft stories to round out the news of the week here. Microsoft has announced a new Xbox wireless headset compatible with Series S, X, Xbox One, and Bluetooth devices. That includes PC and mobile. I thought this was interesting because it's essentially, the headset is essentially matching what PlayStation had at launch for the PS5 with the headset. I can't think of the name. I lost the name.
3D audio.
Yeah, it's called something else though. I'm literally
Pulse.
just now Pulse. Yes, the Pulse headset. Thank you. They're both $99. It seems to have a very similar feature set to that. The biggest thing for me is like the features in this seem to be like really good for the $99 price. It looks really good quality, as well as it has the ability to, you can connect to a Bluetooth device and your Xbox at the same time, which is super cool. So like you could have like a Discord call on your PC or whatever and be on your Xbox at the same time and hear both in your headset, which is amazing. Which I know the SteelSeries, I believe, have the same functionality, but their headsets are like twice as expensive. So very interested. And I've actually already pre-ordered one, guys, because the reasoning is I have Astros, but they freaking hurt my head. Like, and lately I've been playing a lot of multiplayer games. They're super heavy and it just weighs down my head and it bothers me after multiple hours of playing. So I'm hoping these are supposed to be a lot more lightweight, that they'll be, better for that. And I love the Pulse headset that PS5 has. So maybe if it compares to that, then I would be excited. I know you guys probably aren't going to buy this, but do you have any thoughts on this?
I already bought the Pulse, so I don't need to buy the Xbox, especially when it's my lesser played console. But it's funny that it was teased beforehand, and none of us really even gave it a second thought.
Yeah. I'm not really into like I was about to say, I like the Bluetooth option, being able to link it to multiple things. That's pretty cool. Yeah. But again, I'm not the market for this. I don't have an Xbox yet, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't buy it just because I'm not into that kind of stuff. But I'm fine with like regular headphones and just fine with that. Yeah,
of course.
I will say, if they had a game that had the soundtrack of Miles Morales and you had those 3D headphones, like with the sound surrounding you, I mean, that's what made Miles Morales great game, no matter what. But that sound design and the music was just, I don't know, it just made you in that moment. You like felt, I feel like you felt like more Miles Morales than you ever did Peter Parker with the music. And having those headphones when I played it, it was just outer body experience type thing.
Yeah. You felt exactly like Miles Morales until you tried to do an acrobatic stunt, and then you're like, nope, I'm not Miles Morales.
Oh, no, dude. I yoga like the best of them.
Okay, audio listeners, if you can't see this right now, I'm just a skeptical face right now. I don't know. Moving on to the next story, Microsoft announced new accessibility guidelines for Xbox to help developers with accessibility in games. I thought this was super interesting. They have a ton of stuff, essentially a ton of tools that they're providing developers to kind of compare their games and say, like, where can we improve in accessibility? Like one of the points that I'll pull out here, Microsoft is also launching an industry-first, a platform-provided program that can test Xbox and PC games against the Xbox accessibility guidelines and provide game developers with feedback on how to improve their games. I thought that was very, very cool because obviously accessibility is a big deal in our world today, and having something that essentially tells you what your game is not good at accessibility wise is perfect for developers, because it essentially is guiding them to what they need to work on. So I thought that was very, very cool. Roro, did you like this news, or do you have any thoughts on this news?
Just that it's great. Yeah, I love that they're doing this, and that more and more companies are starting to put in the effort, I guess, to make their games more accessible for a wider audience, because everybody plays games. And I think I've said this many times before, but I can't imagine what it would be like not to be able to play games. Like if I lost my sight, or if I lost a finger and I just wasn't able to play it like I used to, it's good to know that I would be able to still play them. So it would suck not to be able to play this hobby. So it's great that they're making it more accessible for more people to have access to it, because it is lots of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, accessibility, good thing.
It's always been a controller too that I personally have wanted to try myself, as somebody who would be classified as an abled gamer, just to kind of experience what that looks like in that way. Like, I know you can obviously switch up your controller points, but it's such a different experience with that thing. And I think it's awesome that developers are now have an easier time to map that and get that out as soon as possible too for them. So cool.
Yeah, agreed. Maybe Respawn will use this tool for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, right, Sean? We had this argument already. Moving on to our final news story. Microsoft announced that a new FPS boost mode for Series S and X that can double or quadruple some backwards compatible games' frame rates without developers' intervention. So essentially, this is another tool that Microsoft is adding to their backwards compatibility tool belt, essentially, that allows older games to have a super fast frame rate even without the developers even touching the games again, which super cool. I think they're starting with just like a handful of games right now. I saw Far Cry 4 was one of those, which will run at 60 frames per second. It originally only ran at 30 frames per second, which is very, very cool for legacy games like that, because it's just improving the experience. Do you guys think that this is something that we're going to see more from Sony on in the future? Like, we haven't really seen a ton from Sony in regards to backwards compatibility enhancements like this. Do you think that they're looking at Microsoft and what they're doing with backwards compatibility and thinking like, can we do these kinds of things on our backwards compatible games? Or what do you guys think on that?
I don't know how much Sony cares about backwards compatibility still. I think they did a lot better so far at the launch of this generation than they did as opposed to last. But again, I don't think that's their market. They're looking at new experiences and moving forward. Whereas I know Xbox or Microsoft in general is in the habit of like, hey, game preservation. Again, we said this before even the consoles came out. No one knows which way is truly the right way as far as the business. It's just interesting that as much similarities as we keep putting on these two companies and two consoles, that you see drastically inside kind of different ideologies.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sony is very nitpicky with what they decide to bring forward and enhance. So I don't see them casting such a wide net like Xbox is doing with a lot of games. Just like, let's make it look better. Whatever it is, we're going to up the frame rate and all that stuff. I don't think Sony is going to do stuff like that. And if they're very very particular in which game they pick. They pick like a Bloodborne or, something popular. So I don't see them putting as much effort into stuff like this. I think this is awesome, though. I love that Xbox is doing that. The only thing that worries me is sometimes I've seen things online, and I know games are different than animation, but animation is such a huge part of games at the same time that if the developers aren't involved in this process, there's always the chance that it looks weird, because there's a lot of people that up Disney animations to like a 60 frames per second on Twitter. And that always throws me off. Like, this looks so weird. It looks too fluid. And in a game, it has to feel right as well. So there's definitely a fine line that they may be treading just by boosting the frame rate. I'm sure they thought of this as well, but not having the developers involved in the process is interesting, but obviously good because they can work on other things. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like on certain games, because I know not everything should be treated the same way.
Yeah. And to your point, Roro, I have some background on something that that literally applies to, and that's Master Chief Collection. When they were going through the process of converting all of the older games to 60 frames per second in Master Chief Collection, for a long time there was an issue with Halo 3's hit detection because the way that the bullets traveled, it's very complex, but the way the bullets traveled over 30 frames per second was different over 60 frames per second, and they had to make changes in the last year actually to actually improve that. Before that, Halo 3 was almost unplayable because of the hit detection being messed up from that frame rate difference. So you have a great point there in that if the developers don't touch it, is it going to cause problems with gameplay and other aspects? Hopefully they've thought of that.
I'm sure they have.
Right.
Yeah, they got this.
Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see for sure. And I guess these first 5 games or whatever will be like the test bed for this to see how it goes. So, moving into the games we are playing / what we are working on, I thought it made sense to kind of combine them just because it's very similar. I am currently playing a lot of stuff this week, actually. I've actually done some new stuff, guys. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I've dove back into that. I've spent like 3 or 4 more hours in it. I'm still loving that game. I can't wait to continue that story and keep going on that. And I still love the freaking dice game in that game. It's so good. Like, I know they're making a real world version of it, and if I had some friends, I might actually buy that. No, I'm kidding. I'm not actually kidding. But I think that would be super cool. And I've also started playing some Nintendo games, guys. You might as well just call me the Nintendo aficionado 2. So
only if you can say it like twice in a row.
Hey, I can now. I couldn't say it the first episode, but now I can say it. The first episode Roro was on, it was definitely a struggle for me to say aficionado, but now I've got it. But Super Mario 3D World, I've started playing again. I played it on Wii U a little bit. I don't know that I beat it. I can't remember. It's been so long, but I've been enjoying that so far. But the 2 I really wanted to talk about, Super Mario Brothers 35, which is the like Battle Royale-esque Mario game. Let me just tell you guys, I am awful at Mario apparently because everyone was just destroying me, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's over with. But yeah, it was super cool just to see like the enemies go into your world, and then like if you kill those enemies, you get more time added to your clock, which is super cool as well. So like I almost felt like if you don't get a ton of enemies killed, you literally lose because you run out of time.
Yep. You don't worry about clearing the stages, you worry about the enemy. The stages will come.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was very interesting. And Tetris 99, I will just say that I'm probably one of the worst Tetris players in the world. And that's coming off of me playing Tetris Effect. Tetris Effect? I forgot the name. Tetris Effect, maybe? Is that right?
Are you talking about the one that launched with the Xbox and the PSVR?
Yes.
It's called something different on Xbox Series X, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I played that and I absolutely loved that, and I had a good time with it, and it slowly scaled you up, so as you got better at the game, it made the levels harder, and it essentially kept making you better at the game. But me not playing that for a while and diving straight into Tetris 99, my goodness, I got destroyed by people. And
Tetris Effect Connected.
Yes, Tetris Effect Connected, yes. And I was just getting destroyed by people. Like anytime someone clears a line or something, it adds one to your screen, it's just madness. And I'm just like there's nothing that freaking makes me more like stressed out than seeing more lines added to my screen. I'm like, no. I had this perfect exactly the way I wanted it, and you just threw these freaking things in here. Yeah. So I probably won't go back to Tetris. I'll probably go back to Mario a little bit, Mario 35 a little bit. But yeah, that was my experiences this week.
Yeah, I love those games. I love the Tetris Effect and the Mario 35 game. I'm terrible at the Tetris one, but I got like in the top 3 for the 35 one once. And I keep beating myself up about it because I came so close to first and I could never reach the top 3 again. It's ridiculous, but it's a super fun game. Right now I am playing Destiny, of course, Destiny.
You've never played that, right?
No, this is my first time playing. So yeah, of course, the new season was released last week. So they're slowly rolling out some more content. This week we got an exotic quest, which is something that we weren't expecting to be out so soon. But of course, I attempted it, and I got to the final boss and just died over and over and over again. And there was so much that led up to that, where you would have to do puzzles and pull levers and so much brain stuff that I had to do to get to the final boss, that quitting out hurt so much because I have to do that all over again to attack the final boss again, attempt a final boss again. But I'm obviously going to have to go in there with some people because I'm not going to be able to take him out by myself. But it's a really good mission. It's super invested in the lore, so some really cool story tidbits in there, and the weapon that is being rewarded is really cool as well. So that's something that I've been slowly grinding away at, and that's actually it. Actually, that's what I've been playing. I want to play 3D World, hoping to pick it up on Friday, but I haven't picked that up yet. But right now, still just Destiny right now.
Nice.
So I finally got to start playing Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors. Played for about an hour and a half, and then I was like, I really like this game, and then I was like, you know what else I really like? Breath of the Wild. So I got the great idea to restart Breath of the Wild.
Oh no.
So I am one Divine Beast down, and probably about like 15 hours in. So I don't know what happened. I got sucked back in. So yeah, now I'm playing Zelda again, and I couldn't start my like previous save because like I literally knew none of the controls. I knew none of the recipes that I knew before. Anything that I had to do, I was just like, I have no idea, so let me start over. And that was a mistake because now I'm just gonna play that until the end of time. But if you are watching the video, I showed Roro and Daniel already. I did buy the Nintendo Switch Mario Edition that has the red Switch. So super excited for that. And I also got, as well as Daniel, and Rory said you're getting it, Mario 3D World. So I'm looking forward to playing that. But honestly, this is sad. I haven't turned on my PS5 or Xbox Series X in probably a month now. Yeah. I just don't have the time, so I've just been living in Switch days again. I have played as Sephiroth recently too in Smash Brothers. He's a lot of fun. I think I like Cloud better. He moves a little faster with a little bit more precision, but Sephiroth does remind me a lot of like kind of Ganon's moves as well. But yeah, Breath of the Wild, I'm pretty much screwed now for a while.
Nice. That's a lot of stuff, guys. We actually did good this week. I mean, like we actually did stuff.
So, don't get used to it, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Moving into the topic of the show, guys, the Nintendo Direct happened today. There is a lot of stuff in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over a couple of things that I highlighted, and then you guys can, decide what you want to highlight because there's just so much. Like, there's no way we'd be able to cover all of this. This is just insanity. I'm looking at this. Like, my last bullet point was literally me just listing a bunch of stuff because there's so much. But anyways, let's start it with this. Breath of the Wild 2 news is supposedly being planned for later this year. Oh, that was a little bit... I didn't expect to see Breath of the Wild 2 here, but I didn't expect it to be like later this year. Like, I'm taking this as meaning like the fall. They're going to give us news on it, which means probably not coming out this year. Does that disappoint you guys or like surprise you guys that we're probably not going to get the game this year after, 4 years now since Breath of the Wild came out?
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, even though it is that anniversary and Metroid anniversary this year, that they should be coming out, but it doesn't surprise me. And honestly, I only say that because of the pandemic. I feel like that Nintendo doesn't really give us deep dives into the development process too often, besides Miyamoto playing back behind you on the screen. So I have a feeling that this greatly slowed down because, as we know, in Asian countries, there was a lot more stricter policies when it came to quarantine and lockdown and stuff like that than we had all followed on the West. So I have a feeling that definitely delayed a lot of Japanese games.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I wasn't surprised. Obviously, definitely a bummer that it got what we assume is pushed. They didn't say that, but like you were saying, if they're giving us new information at the end of the month or at the end of the year, close to the end of the year, then it's probably not going to be coming out this year, which it's possible. Sometimes they do that. Sometimes they're like, hey, look at all this new stuff, and it's coming out in a couple of months. Nintendo's definitely done that, but with such a huge game, I feel like they want to give us a little bit more information before it releases.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't think they like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I don't know how much we got a release date before it came out, like March.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much time we were given, but I don't know if it was huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely not holding out that it's coming out this year. I'm in the same position as Sean, where I think the pandemic definitely affected development on a lot of their games. And as you were saying, Metroid, Bayonetta, all these games are in limbo right now. So yeah, just have to wait right now.
Yeah, pretty much all their big announced games we haven't seen in years, it seems like. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But the good news is, guys, we're getting a Zelda game this year, right? We're getting Skyward Sword HD coming to Switch July 16th, 2021. I don't think that this is the Zelda game that people wanted, but
I want it.
You want it? Okay.
It's the only 3D Zelda I ever missed out on.
Okay.
I had sold my Wii before this game came out because I just had no interest. We had a house Wii up at college at that time, and I never experienced this. I know it has a lot of reliability when it comes to motion control, so I'm curious how it's going to adapt to it on the Switch. But this was actually my biggest excitement on it because it's like I finally get to experience this game.
I haven't played it either. I'm in a similar boat where I do want this game, but not over other games, other Zelda games.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where I was. I would love this game in a collection, but it being the Zelda game for the 35th anniversary kind of bummed me out. But I'm definitely excited to try it. And the motion controls, they're going to use the Joy-Cons for the sword swinging and the shield and all that stuff. But they also have button controls too. So if you don't want to do that, like probably I won't want to do that. They have you use the analog stick to swipe up and down and left and right and diagonal instead of using the Joy-Con, which could be interesting. Maybe I will resort to the Joy-Cons if I don't feel that feels good. But yeah, we shall see. I'm definitely excited to try it out because it is a Zelda that I haven't played as well.
Yeah. The stick just seems weird to me. Like, I get the premise behind it. Like, you have to have certain angles because that game is very designed for that. Like, it requires certain angles to attack certain enemies. But it's just very weird. I can't wrap my head around it, I guess. Does that... I guess that means you can't control the camera. The camera's going to be automatically controlled because normally that would be your camera stick.
When you're more than likely locking onto enemies, so when you're moving, you're just focusing on them anyway. But yeah, I agree. That's going to be weird to know when you're trying to move the camera and when you're trying to attack someone.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see how they work around that.
For sure. And guys, it's also a game that I haven't played before, but I also but I also haven't played most of the Zelda games. I've literally only played Ocarina, Majora's Mask, and Breath of the Wild. So
some good ones though.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a lie. I did play Wind Waker on GameCube. I didn't play a ton of it though. I only played a little bit. I was so young and I wasn't really too into it back then, but I feel like I would be into it today. I don't know.
That one's my favorite. That's the one that I would have wanted, even though it came out on the Wii U and it already came out. People already played it, but that's the one that I wanted.
The HD version made that so much better with the sailing.
And when he said like, "Oh, we have another Zelda game coming," I was like, "Oh, it's gotta be Wind Waker HD because everybody's been asking for it." And then they show Skyward Sword, and I was like, "Uh-oh. This isn't gonna go too well for."
I've seen a lot of people asking for it, so
Fair.
But at the same time, I feel like other people wanted other games instead of this one.
Yeah.
Like not alone Skyward Sword, but
Yes.
they did want it, but not just Skyward Sword. Yeah.
For sure. Moving on to our next story. This one I was a little bit confused at first. I thought we were looking at a Splatoon RPG at first because like they were customizing their character and I was like, wait a minute, is this going to be like an open world RPG of Splatoon? I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested in this, but like, what is this? And then apparently it's just Splatoon 3. And it will return with the 4v4 battles or whatever that the games are known for. I've actually never played Splatoon. I didn't play the first two. So I know, Roro, you're very excited about this. Does Splatoon 3 have you over the moon with excitement? You know, could you possibly Splatoon yourself over the moon? I mean,
Oh my gosh.
I'll see myself out now.
Definitely excited. And the customization is definitely something that has been in the previous games, like choosing your hairstyle and what you wear is a pretty big part of the game. Like decking yourself out looking fresh is how the Inklings call it, I guess. But it is a super fun multiplayer game and probably I guess it is one of Nintendo's most recent new IPs that has stuck, and I'm glad that they're still going with it and making more of it because fans do love it. I love it. But when Splatoon 2 ended, like with their last Splatfest, obviously players are dwindling. There's not a lot of people playing. I don't know that. Maybe there's a lot of people playing. I'm not sure. But it's always good to revitalize the community and get them hyped about something again. So when this comes out, obviously more people are going to be playing. So I'm definitely excited to see where the story goes. There is one, apparently. There's a crazy Splatoon lore going on with apocalypses and all that stuff. But definitely excited to see what they change, what kind of modes they bring to the third one as well. So definitely excited to see more of it in the future.
Sweet. Sean, are you going to Splatoon some people? You know?
Never was big into it. I have played it. So probably not. But I do think it's cool, the community that they fostered.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, guys. Smash Brothers Ultimate is getting some new characters, and they're from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And this is another blind spot for me, so I don't know if either of you can fill in for me, but Pyra and Mithra are joining the cast to Smash Brothers Ultimate, and I'm seeing Roro shake his head no, which means we're in trouble because I don't think Sean knows. So, yeah.
I love them. I know of Xenoblade, but I never played. I started to, and I have to, and it's one of those games where I'm like, why did I spend $70 on this? I keep going back to try it because I spent $70 on it.
Yeah.
I should get my money's worth out of it, but it never sticks with me. It's just one of those games that I just not into, I guess. But I love the characters. The characters look cool and fun, so definitely down to try them out when they release.
For sure.
Always cool.
For sure.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more. I don't know what I'm hoping for now from a Smash game as far as characters. Sephiroth was huge. I think that's going to probably be the winner.
That one blew my mind. Roro can attest. I knew exactly who that was right at the start.
You're the worst human being in the world.
I know. Oh, God. Yes.
If it was Steve from Minecraft, you'd be okay.
I mean, isn't he in there, right?
That's why I was waiting for you to say, like, but he is the best one.
Yeah. No, Steve from Minecraft is not the best one. Get out of here. Banjo-Kazooie. Moving on. This was actually my favorite part of the whole thing. Mario Golf Super Rush, which I know there's a lot of Mario Golf fans out there, and I know Roro's a big Mario Golf fan. And it has been announced for June 25th, 2021. So very close to our other June games that are coming. Not good. We're going to have a busy June. But I thought the coolest part was the speed golf. I thought that looked kind of cool. So like it's essentially like a race. You're trying to hurry up and like beat your opponents to the hole, but like do it efficiently, which I think is very fascinating. Roro, what is that kind of a highlight for you as well?
Yeah, as you're saying, I love the Mario sports games just in general. I love them. But yeah, this was definitely a highlight. I was super excited to see it. Obviously, it's not Strikers, but
Thank
it
you.
is.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's not Strikers, but it's a Mario sports game, so I'll take it. And the speed running or speed mode, I don't remember what it was called, speed golf, I guess.
Speed golf
Did look really fun, and like you're saying, you have to do it efficiently. You're not just supposed to just whack your freaking golf club close to the thing. Gotta hit it softly, hit it hard, depending on where you are. So it did look like definitely a fun mode, and I'm super excited to pick it up in June. Like as you said, going to be super packed, but definitely going to be one of the games that I play during that month for sure.
Yeah, good time for lots of games in the summer. Sean, are you gonna play you some Mario Golf?
I am, but now Roro literally said what I was going to say, but him just saying it out loud just made me depressed. So I don't want to talk right now.
Is Strikers a soccer game, I'm assuming?
Oh, dude, and it's beyond good. It was amazing on the Wii.
Why am I not surprised that you love a soccer game, Sean?
There you go.
Freaking soccer obsession. This is the last one that I had highlighted, but again, you guys look at the other ones and you tell me what you want to talk about, because I don't know. There's just so much. Project Triangle Strategy, which that's just a mouthful right there. Project Triangle Strategy has been announced for 2022, and there's a demo available today. And apparently this is a Octopath successor, which I never played Octopath, but a lot of people really enjoyed Octopath Traveler. Are you guys interested in this? I know Octopath, this is very similar to how Octopath was announced, because I believe that had a demo that
it announced with a demo as well that carried over onto your save file. Yeah, because I have Octopath.
Yeah.
It was a really good and different type of JRPG as far as the class system and being able to have somebody that has two different classes. So that was actually really cool to be able to have. I love the art style too with the dynamic thing, and also the battle system was really good because it's a turn-based system, but not turn-based system too at the same time. So I'm definitely interested. I won't lie, especially I say this after jumping into Breath of the Wild again, but right now RPGs are very intimidating to me just with the time that I have. So it might not be something that's on my radar at this point in my time.
Yeah. I was definitely intrigued by it for sure. I definitely played Octopath Traveler as well. Same as Sean. I loved the battle system with I forgot what it was called, but like you have to use a specific weapon, like most RPGs and turn-based stuff, where you have to find their weaknesses, and based on that, you get an extra turn, or you strike them more than once. I think is in one turn is one of the interesting parts of it. But there is the art style is beautiful. I love how dynamic that was, as Sean said. And this is definitely similar to how they announced the previous one, because they're doing like Project Triangle Strategy, and super weird name that they're probably may stick with, like they did with Octopath Traveler, but it's just so weird. Project Triangle Strategy. But there's a demo today, and I definitely want to try it out. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into it and see if it'll stick. I love the improvements that they made on the battle system in this one, how you can like bump somebody over to another person waiting across in the distance, and somebody, it's like a lot more dynamic than the previous one. So definitely excited to see how that works.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a catchy title, Project Triangle Strategy. It just rolls off the tongue.
Octopath Traveler, Bravely Default, Bravely Second. Look, some of these Square games are not meant to be like name catchers, okay?
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 365 days times 2, or oh god, good lord. Kingdom Hearts is the worst with that stuff.
Yeah. Oof. Okay, moving into our mass conglomeration of news stories, guys. I'll just pick one out here. Star Wars Hunters announced for 2021. It's a multiplayer game that's being made by Zynga, which is normally a mobile developer. And I don't know. It's set between episode 6 and 7 of Star Wars. I don't know what this is going to be, but I feel like Zynga, it's probably going to be some kind of, I don't know, microtransaction ridiculousness. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see what it ends up being. We didn't really see a whole lot from it. We just kind of got a trailer of it. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on Zynga making a Star Wars game that I don't know? I don't know what this is.
I also don't know. Yeah. Like you said, we didn't see much. It did look like a game that would be exactly as you described, based on the very little that we saw. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not. The Star Wars name always intrigues me, but there's also so much crap that goes along with that, or so many crappy games, like smaller ones to be exact, that are just bottom of the barrel stuff. So I assume that this might be one of those, but we have to see. We have to wait and see.
Sure. Are there any highlights that you guys like? Or is there anything you guys want to talk about that's in this grouping here?
The expansion pass for Hyrule Warriors, that's interesting. Okay. I still got to kind of dive into that, but I was actually not expecting that given the playable characters, and it's a prequel to Breath of the Wild, and so it is a connected story. So it's just interesting that they're going to add something else to that. So I'm curious how that goes. And then obviously, and I say obvious, but Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. This is already on my radar. I loved Ghosts and Goblins as a kid, actually more Super Ghosts and Goblins, because it was on the Super Nintendo, and it's an incredibly hard game to play. This one looks even cooler just with the art style. I know it's basically just a remaster version of it, but it is something I'm looking forward to.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I can't believe you guys didn't mention DC Superhero Girls, by the way.
I'm not even kidding you. I was waiting for that because I was watching the live stream, and I was like, that is definitely a game Roro is going to play.
Definitely. But obviously the Animal Crossing stuff, something that I am super excited for. The Mario furniture looked amazing. The Animal Crossing furniture and items aren't usually something that you can interact with on that level. You could touch them and they sometimes do a little something, but being able to jump into the warp pipe and actually place another warp pipe on your island and pop out there is awesome. It's really cool. And obviously the coins as well. If you pass through the coins, they disappear and then they reappear after a while. So it's really cool. It's next level Animal Crossing items there. So I'm definitely excited to get that on March 1st, I believe is when that comes out. Nice. And it comes with Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Peach costumes as well for your villagers. So definitely really cool. Definitely going to dress all my animals up in those costumes. But the other two things are just Fall Guys is coming to the Switch and Apex Legends is coming to the Switch. So those are games that we've been expecting were going to be there, and they're finally coming. So that's obviously a highlight as well, that we're finally going to be able to play those there.
With double XP the weekend that Apex launches.
Oh, nice.
And it does connect your account too.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, because I think I saw a rumor somewhere that the next season of Fall Guys is going to launch on Xbox, Nintendo, Switch, and everywhere that it's not on right now, which is very cool. If that ends up being true, we'll finally get some Fall Guys action across the board, get some cross play. It's exciting.
Also, Hades is getting a physical release. Is cool too.
Ooh, yes, and they had some cool stuff in that actually. They had a really cool art book in there, with the different characters. I thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Very, very cool. Anything else, guys, before we close the show?
That is it.
Nope, I'm good.
Wait. Hold the phone.
I'm not going to take long, but I just wanted to say the Famicom Detective thing is definitely something that's up my alley. The what is it called? The visual novel detective thing. And there's definitely something I'm going to try out.
And there's two of them, right? They announced two of them. Yeah, that's
called The Missing Heir is one of them, and the other one is called Girl Who Stands Behind, and that comes out in May. So
nice, excited
for that. But that's it. That's definitely
it. Sweet deal. All right, no more hold the phones. All right. All right. Thank you again to everyone joining us both live on YouTube and on Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Stitcher. Thank you, Roro. Thank you, Sean. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.
Deuces.